What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like on this video. I would very much appreciate it. We're almost to that 2,000 mark, guys. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. So thank you so much for all the support. Without further ado, guys, as you can see right here in front of me, I do have the Commander Appo and Barc Speeder set. I'm definitely really excited to check this one out. If you can't tell, I could barely fit it in frame. Here's the scale with my hands. It is a pretty ginormous art box, so it definitely was hard to fit in frame. I'm glad I got a good shot of it here, though. I do want to show you, though, before we get into everything, I do want to show you how this box works. It's a little bit different. And if we open up the flap here, you are greeted by an absolutely gorgeous image here. Of course, we have a 332nd Clone Trooper. We have this ARF Trooper and AT-RT set that I can't wait to release. And of course, we have Appo and this beautiful Barc Speeder. But of course, now guys, we're going to take the plastic clamshells out of the box and take a closer look at how this arrives to you when it lands on your doorstep. Okay, and here it is, and as you can see, guys, we do have Commander Appo packaged here in the front, and then underneath, you can see we have that display stand that goes with the bike, as well as the display stand if you would like to put the figure by itself, not on the bike. Everything is laid out in here very neatly. I think the packaging is very well done. But with that being said, guys, we're going to take the vehicle, the figure, and all of the accessories out of the box, and we'll take a closer look at all of the details. Really quickly, guys, I just wanted to show you, these are all of the accessories that are included in the box. Of course, I'm going to go through each individually, but I just wanted to show you everything laid out. Believe it or not, based on the size of the box, you would expect a little bit more. This is everything that is included in the box apart from the figure or the bike. So I just wanted to show you that. Now let's start going through each item individually. Well, guys, you already know what I'm going to say. Hot Toys never gives us enough hands. Unfortunately, the Commander, Appo, and Barc Speeder set is no exception. As you can see, I have two different sets of hands here, and there is a set pre-installed on the figure. We do have two kind of gripping hands to grip the handlebars on the speeder. Definitely makes sense to include those. If we get a little bit closer, you can see there's some nice kind of speckling weathering on there. I think it looks pretty good. I have no complaints about how they look. I just have a complaint about the minimum amount of hands they've given us. You would at least expect maybe a pointing finger or a gesturing hand, something of the sort that makes sense to go with the Commander. Unfortunately, they did not include that. We also do have a trigger hand here for both sides, obviously essential, especially considering he includes the blaster pistols as well. Definitely nice looking hands, again, nicely sculpted, nicely painted. I love the speckling on the weathering and everything. It's just unfortunate for such an expensive set that they kind of skimped out on the amount of hands that they included. But with that being said, let's move on to the next accessory. Next, guys, we do have our DC-15 blaster rifle here. And as you can see, it looks pretty good, really nicely weathered. They've kind of gotten this down at this point with the amount of releases they've had for clones. I think it looks really nicely done. If we get really close up on it, you can see some really nice weathering. And overall, the details throughout are very consistent, and I think they did a great job on it. Of course, this does articulate. Sometimes this may be looser on certain copies. Mine seems to be pretty decent on here. Of course, you will have the hand kind of grabbing it underneath, so it will hold it in place. But I think this looks really nice. And next, as I mentioned, we do have two blaster pistols. And of course, these look really nicely done as well, just like the blaster rifle. I think they did a great job here. The weathering looks very convincing. It looks like real worn metal. Overall, of course, I have zero complaints about this. They've been very consistent with these through the Clone Wars line so far, so I'm very happy with these. I think they did a great job. Next, as you can see, guys, we do have the display base. Of course, we have a metal Star Wars branded nameplate that says Commander Appo on the front. As we take a look from the top, you could see this is that base that they keep on using over and over again. However, at least it doesn't have sand footprints. We're happy about that. And also, of course, included with this is a crotch grabber as well that you just install on here as usual. So definitely a very plain display base, but I probably won't use this because my Appo is definitely going to be on that speeder. And next we do have the base for the speeder. This is how you mount the speeder and keep it standing upright, and you can pose it how you want. I think this looks very nice. If we get really close, you can see that white speckling throughout, like they splattered some paint here and there. I think that makes it look very convincing, very real, and overall, I think they did a fantastic job on this base. Flipping it to the underside, it is just a plain plastic with the Hot Toys branding. Now, you do mount the bike with this little grabber here. I did notice that mine has this weird noise, and I could be quiet for a second. Not sure what that is loose inside of there. Maybe I'll figure it out as I'm mounting the vehicle, but I just noticed that as I took it out of the box, so I'm curious to see if anyone else has that issue with theirs, or maybe it's not an issue and I'm just dumb. Who knows? But nevertheless, once again, I think this looks really good, really nicely painted, really nicely laid out, and I'm happy with this. Finally, believe it or not, guys, this is not a bunch of AUG assault rifles. I know it looks like that. It's not. When I first saw it, I'm like, what does that look like? It looks like an AUG. But these are parts that attach onto the bike. They are really nicely weathered, as you can see. I think they did a great job on them. Of course, just to be helpful, I will show myself attaching them to the bike in the next segment of this video, but I just wanted to show you the parts separate so you could see what's being put on the bike close up. But without further ado, let me mount the bike on its stand, and I'll take a little clip of me installing all these parts on it. Alright guys, now that I have the bike all assembled, I wanted to give you a quick walkthrough throughout the bike. As you can see, really nicely weathered and painted and detailed all the way throughout the vehicle. As you can see, we have a really cool looking jet engine back there, and we have a Republic cog there on the side. If we get really close to the detail there, you can see some really nice weathering, some depth to that weathering for sure. And as you can see, it's really all the way throughout the vehicle. You saw I did install those guns on the front and the back. There are quite a bit of movable parts here, so I want to show you the main handlebars do move. And I'm assuming maybe these are like clutch knobs here. These do move as well. Moving down to the pedal here, this is actually really beautifully done. You can see the cabling there kind of moves with the pedal. It's very sturdy. I'm curious to see if this has a magnet in it, because the other Hot Toy speeders do. So I guess we'll find that out when we do put the figure on the vehicle. Moving towards the nose of the vehicle, guys, as you can see, again, beautiful weathering. I'll try to get a shot in front of the nose there. As you can see, it's just really nicely done. Look at that weathering there in the front. Really beautifully done. And also, guys, another moving part here, and again, you do see I did install those guns in the front. You can move these left and right as well, which is really cool. So I am definitely really digging how this vehicle looks. I think they did a fantastic job, and I cannot wait to throw Appo on here, because I think he's just going to make it that much better. We do also have that kind of control box there as well, and of course there is Appo's seat with that tall neck on the seat there. But overall, guys, I am very pleased with how this guy looks. But without further ado, guys, let me throw the camera back on the tripod and let's take a look at Commander Appo. Alright, now here we have Commander Appo himself. Of course, we're going to take a look at the armor, the weathering, all the different details throughout. We're going to start with the front, work our way down, and then move around to the back. As you can see, guys, I think the helmet looks really nicely done, really nicely weathered from the front all the way throughout, wrapping around to the back. I think they did a great job. As you guys have probably noticed so far, there really is no shortage of weathering with this set. I think the pauldron actually looks pretty decent. A lot of people are going to have their own thoughts and feelings on that pauldron there, but I do think it looks pretty good. I'm happy with the overall shape and how it looks. I have no complaints about that. As you can see, guys, we have some nice weathering on the shoulder armor as well, and that is true on both sides. I think that looks pretty good. I do really like this strap with the boxes going down the right side of his chest there. That's very unique looking, and as you see, it continues over around the right bicep armor as well, and I think that's a really nice, unique look. Again, the weathering is really second to none on this guy. I think for a factory weather, this looks pretty excellent. You could see all over the chest plate, really all over the armor here in the torso area. I think it looks really good. We even have some dirt, grime, and weathering on the belt there, which I have no complaints about. As you can see, it does continue down onto the forearm armor as well. Of course, this is an ARC Trooper, so he does carry 2 DC-17 pistols, so we do have holsters for those pistols there that are kept on by a fabric piece, which is really nice. Moving down, as you can see, there is the front attachment point for the comma. No complaints about how that looks personally. And of course, guys, the weathering gets pretty intense towards the feet, which you really like to see, especially because this guy's on a speeder. You know, the dirt's going to be kicking up under him. It makes a lot of sense for them to heavily weather the feet and the calf armor. So I think that's very clever and very realistic looking. Definitely really am digging that. I have no complaints there. Of course, as always, guys, I've got to take a look at that tread. I would expect it to be a little bit more dirty, but at least there's some weathering down there. But moving around to the back, guys, again, superb weathering throughout so far. I'm definitely really happy with how this looks. Moving down, though, we do see more of that belt there in the back, looking a little different from the front. But I think the shining star of this figure for me is this weathering and battle damage here on the comma from the back. It almost looks like it has cuts and frayed edges there, as you could see. Really nicely done. This looks like a custom job in my opinion. And of course you have a lot of dirt and grime throughout. Of course, again, it makes sense because he's going to be sitting in that speeder. Dirt's kicking up. It makes a ton of sense, and I'm so glad that they went through and weathered everything, especially towards the bottom. They made it heavier, so that's really cool to me. Overall, guys, I think he looks really good. But moving on to the articulation, which I know a lot of people are curious about, especially because this is going on a speeder bike, you would hope that he articulates decently. Starting with the head, guys, there's going to be a bit of limitation left and right only because of that pauldron. In terms of front and back, you do get some movement, more back than front for sure. Really not many complaints about that personally. I think you can take it as far as you really need to. In terms of the shoulder articulation, I mean, you really can't ask for much more there. I imagine it's going to be very similar on both sides, which it is. Really no complaints about that. Now, something I do want to note, guys, this does have ratcheted elbows, but you can't really hear it like you normally can, and it's a bit restricted there, as you could see from the armor. But it is ratcheted, which is good to see. It's just a lighter ratchet. You really kind of have to bend it and feel it because it doesn't make that normal, like, loud ratcheting joint noise. I want to see how far I could really push it. It is beyond 90 there, but again, it does get limited a little bit by the armor, which is okay with me. Of course, bending at the waist, guys, you're really not going to get much because of how that armor is. I really have no complaint about that. That's really just the design of the armor itself. And then, of course, we do have 360 rotation on both hands. I forgot to mention earlier, these are the hands that are pre-installed on the figure, by the way. Glad I remembered that. But as you can see, guys, full rotation. You will have to pull up the forearm armor a little bit to get that rocker joint to activate, but that's okay. That's about what you can expect with a clone. In terms of the hip articulation, guys, these are very nice ratcheted joints, which is great to see because, once again, you are putting this guy on a vehicle most likely if you bought this set. So definitely good to see. They're very strong. You may have been able to hear them in the video, but I'm definitely glad to see that because over time, guys, if they aren't ratcheted, they're definitely going to loosen up. You have a better chance for sure. Not saying it's impossible, but you have a better chance for sure with those ratcheted joints. In terms of the knees, these are ratcheted as well, which is great to see. As you can see, they do go beyond 90. Overall, guys, this is a really nice body. I think we will have our typical articulation here with the boots, and as you can see, that's about standard, what you can expect with the clones just based on the design. But overall, guys, let me straighten him out here a little bit. Overall, guys, I think he's going to be plenty articulate to put on the bike, but let me not tease you guys any further. Let me throw Appo on the speeder. We'll throw him in a couple poses, and then we'll close out this video, and I'll share my final thoughts on the Commander Appo and Barc speeder set. Really quickly, guys, I know some people are asking for a size comparison between the Return of the Jedi speeder and the Barc speeder. As you can see, it is considerably bigger than the Return of the Jedi speeder. Don't they look great together, though? But I just wanted to show that to you guys real quick. Again, I know people were asking. As you can see, it's longer and wider than the Return of the Jedi speeder in most spots. So definitely keep that in mind when making space for this guy because it is a considerable amount bigger. At the end of the day, I do think this is certainly worth the $515 price tag. I think the bike is very substantial and very well built, and I think the figure is absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to throw this on my shelf. Thank you so much for watching, though, guys. I very much appreciate it. Take care, and I'm out.